And joining us now from Vancouver is a member of the Kurdish community there, Sozan Savehilaghi. Ms. Savehilaghi, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about how your community reacts to the situation that we've all been witnessing over the last 24 hours? What's the reaction of the Kurdish Canadian community?
The Kurdish community, as well as many refugee communities, are obviously experiencing an immense amount of sorrow, a lot of anger and frustration at this government and the international governments and communities for not addressing these issues head-on and for stepping in the way of refugees who are only seeking safety and security for their families at every step of the way. A tremendous amount of anger at the Canadian government for this situation, but also for their increasingly regressive immigration policies over the past 8 to 10 years. We know that Canada actually has an exclusionary policy when it comes to refugees and migrants in general. And you know, this talk of hordes of refugees and migrants coming to Canada is absolutely ridiculous. Industrialized nations of the world accept only 14% of all refugees, which are in the millions. And Canada is absolutely not doing its part. It does not have a generous refugee policy and is not meeting its obligations. It's in fact complicit in the creation of refugees. We have an active military campaign in Syria. However, we do not accept refugees from Syria. And this is absolutely ludicrous.
And of course, it's not just Canada that is a roadblock. It appears this family was not registered with the UN and so as a result did not have a Turkish ID. Speak to us about the paperwork and the roadblocks every step of the way.
You know, this is a global pattern and it is in fact a crisis. A lot of governments around the world are you know, vilifying refugees. Even our own government calls them bogus refugees, creates all sorts of exclusionary measures for them to be able to obtain any sense of status in Canada. And this is not just in Canada, you're right. Turkey has a long history of not allowing refugees to obtain exit visas, even when they are accepted as UN refugees. The UN does not reach all refugees, and so people are not able to actually get through to the UN. I know there are cases of the Turkish officials actually preventing people from accessing the UN interview where they would be interviewed to be accepted as refugees. And so the situation there is quite dire. There are refugees in Turkey who have been there 10+ years. Simply because they are not granted an exit visa. And of course, this is exacerbated by the conflict that's happening currently. The Kurdi family was, in fact, from a region in Syria called Kobane. And Kobane has mounted the most effective and are the front line fighting against ISIS at the moment. However, the Canadian government does not support that struggle. Not only that, has the audacity to call them terrorists. And yet, you know, we don't hear about these things in the media. So it's really important that this is being covered now. But I also think that it's not just during election time that we need to do this. The immigration policies that are currently in effect are incredibly regressive. They are severely anti-refugee and need to be completely repealed. I hear absolutely no conversation from any of the political parties about reversing some of these policies. And so there is very little faith, and it's actually quite insulting to see Chris Alexander and Stephen Harper grandstanding during this time when we know that their policies are anti-refugee and anti-migrant.
Sozan Savehilaghi is from Vancouver, a member of the Canadian Kurdish community. Very good of you to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.